in an instant. For anyone who's been to Wild Wadi, you'll definitely know the Jumeirah Sierra ride. You climb up a giant tower, step into a narrow tube, and in an instant, the ground disappears beneath your feet. You plummet over 100 feet, almost vertically, landing in a shallow pool, dazed, as though you've just been spun in a washing machine. That was me. On an ordinary Friday night, 3 years ago, I was casually lounging on my couch, my husband snoring not so gently beside me. I began to scratch an itch when I felt something unusual, a lump. And in that moment, I instinctively knew that my life was about to change drastically. That was the first of several pivotal moments I would soon face, standing on the threshold between what was and what would be, forced to decide whether I'd collapse or keep moving. The doctor soon confirmed what I had feared: breast cancer. But here's the thing. At first, it didn't feel terrifying. The diagnosis was stage 1, early, contained. The doctor reassured me that I probably wouldn't need chemotherapy. I might not even need radiation. Just a surgery and some medication, and I would be done. Doable, manageable, something I could sail through. So I walked into that first surgery thinking, I've got this. But then, things took a turn. The doctors found that 6 of my lymph nodes were malignant, which meant that the cancer had already metastasized. It had begun to spread. Overnight, my diagnosis was promoted from stage 1 to stage 3. Suddenly, I wasn't in the easy lane anymore. Suddenly, I was staring at chemotherapy, radiation, an oophorectomy, bilateral mastectomy, hormone replacement therapy, 8 years of medication, medical terms by the dozen, words I didn't even know the meaning of suddenly became a part of me. I wasn't just a person anymore. I was a patient. One who had to suddenly juggle work, home, hospital, tests, procedures, lunchboxes, corrections, and all the while trying not to feel sick, anxious, resentful. The plan that once seemed simple now felt endless. And the side effects, let me just say they deserve their own TED Talk. A permanently upset stomach? Check. Red, itchy, watery eyes? Check. My hair still hasn't grown back the way everyone promised it would. People kept telling me, it'll grow back, thicker, fuller, even better than before. Sorry, no. That fairy tale skipped me. My hair is still stubbornly thin. At this point, I've lost track of which side effects belong to which medication. But the silver lining is, I can now blame everything on the meds. Forgetting why I walked into a room? Must be the tablets. Feeling cranky? Oh, definitely the meds. Want to skip an event or meeting? Oops, sorry, side effects. Honestly, it's the best built-in excuse I've ever had. But while the surgeries and side effects were one kind of battle, chemotherapy was a whole other struggle, a space where time seemed to stretch endlessly, even though I knew it was temporary. It stripped all the joy from me, like a kiss from a dementor. I tried to soldier through. I carried my red pen with me to the hospital, determined to keep up with my corrections. But chemo brain is real. I remember sitting with one essay in front of me for over an hour, staring at the words on the paper, trying to make sense of them. And nothing. My brain just refused to cooperate. At night, I'd lie awake, bones aching, sleep, rest, peace, stubbornly out of reach. But at least that's when I could let my guard down. That's when I could shed all the tears I'd been keeping at bay, weep for the person I would never be again. I lost interest in everything I once enjoyed. Books, TV, puzzles, conversations, nothing made sense anymore. At Christmas and New Year parties, I showed up because I wanted to be there with my family. But I wasn't really there. I remember walking into a friend's home, smelling incense, and instantly feeling nauseous. For no reason, I burst into tears. I was embarrassed, but I couldn't stop the tears. I ended up just sleeping on the couch, but at least I was there. At least I showed up. Looking back, I'm deeply grateful for everyone who reached out in so many simple ways. People who saw me, bawled, beaten down, crying in the bathroom, and just held my hand silently, letting me wallow. The school gave me time off. My husband, he carried the weight I couldn't. My children showed a resilience I never expected, but still, I felt so helpless, so useless. At home, I'd look around and think, the kitchen counter needs wiping, but I couldn't summon the strength to do it myself. That kind of helplessness gnaws at you in small, quiet ways. And then there was the hair. Everywhere I turned, sat, lay down, I left behind a small pile of hair, like a dog shedding in the summer. I was scared to brush or even wash my hair for fear of hastening the process. Finally, I decided to just give in to the inevitable and shave what was left of it off. For some reason, it turned into a family event. So there I stood in front of the mirror, my 3 kids beside me on the bed, my husband behind me, beard trimmer in hand. I took a deep breath and felt the trimmer glide across my scalp, carving a sort of landing strip on my head. It would have been hilarious, were it not so heartbreaking. I tried to keep it together, but my little girl, who had just turned 9, had no such resolve. "No, Mama, don't," she cried out. And my heart just broke. With every swipe of that trimmer across my head, she buried herself deeper under the blankets and cried, begging me to stop. As I held her, I cried with her, but I also felt strangely relieved. I didn't have to keep watching my hair falling. I didn't have to keep struggling to cover up my bald spots. I could just embrace my new look. I could wear my newly purchased beanies with pride. Because here's the truth. Cancer strips you down. It takes your hair, your body, your energy, your sense of who you were. It drains you emotionally, tests even the strongest relationships. But life's most chaotic moments aren't only about loss. They're also about choice. And I chose to laugh where I could, even at myself. I chose to show up, even if I was just sleeping on the couch. I chose to keep going. Each time the ground gave way beneath me, each time I discovered strength I didn't know I had. That's the paradox of these threshold moments. They can be brutal, but they're also transformative. They may look different for each of us, but every threshold reshapes us. Each one makes us stronger, softer, wiser, braver. Because life is never absolute. Pain and joy don't take turns. Happiness doesn't wait politely for trauma to pass. Sometimes it barges in, right in the middle of it. Because even in life's darkest moments, there will still be birthdays to celebrate, memories to treasure, moments to cherish, and people who love us through it all. So the next time life pulls the ground out from under you, and it will, don't think of it as the end. Think of it as a threshold, a moment where you get to choose, collapse or keep moving. Because even here, even in the darkest, strangest, most in-between moments, life can still be stubbornly, surprisingly beautiful. Thank you.